This is Dale on the microphone. Arlene and I are posting this video to show our pride in reaching our 73rd wedding anniversary on March 31 of this year. That sounds like a long time, but in many ways it seems all too short. We met in 1946, so we have actually been together for 77 years. I was a senior in high school and Arlene was attending WSU. We have been blessed with 2 sons, 5 grandkids, and 5 great-grandkids. We actually told our love story in a video of our 60th anniversary in 2010. And I'm going to play it right now and just save some time on redoing it. Which was a Friday night at the Epworth Methodist Church, which is approximately at George Washington Boulevard in Kellogg. Since we both had lots of relatives, the church was pretty packed. Since it was an evening wedding, she had the church all lit with candlelight. She just did a wonderful job planning the wedding. As a side note, our minister was Wayne Karlowski, and he was also our minister in Valley Center at the time that we had our 25th wedding anniversary. The wedding party from right to left, not counting the bride and groom, is my sister Nancy, my sister Charlotte, Doris Yeager, now Doris Lansdowne, Hermione Brandis, married to Arlene's cousin, and behind Arlene's her dad, Erman Lansdowne, and Reverend Karlowski, and Arlene's brother, Sylvester Lansdowne. Next to him was a friend of mine, Fred Miller. And last is Lauren Reniker, cousin of Arlene's. We got lots and lots of gifts that our folks had to pack up and take home for us after we left, since we had to be back to work and school Monday morning. Our honeymoon consisted of just one weekend in Hutchinson. You can tell by this picture that I had to teach her how to cook. And there she is feeding me. Poor girl, she's had to do that ever since. I guess the story of a couple's wedding wouldn't be complete without the story of how they met. This picture on the screen now is a picture of Arlene and a close friend of hers that she went out to WU with. Arlene went to El Dorado Junior College before transferring to WU to finish her secretariate degree. I was really attracted to Arlene the very first minute that I met her. Only problem was that when that minute happened, I was dating a girl up there on the left. Her name was Betty Hatch. She was a younger sister of my high school English teacher. My very first contact with Arlene was on the telephone. Called her from Betty's house to talk her into double dating with a friend of mine that had just come back from the Army. I was on there for at least 30 minutes. I think she finally just said yes to get me off the phone. Anyway, we double dated for 2-3 months. I finally felt like maybe I could get the switch done. I did steakhouse with several groups of our friends for a while, but anyway, finally got the switch done, and it's lasted all these many years. Our first home was a little apartment 4 or 5 blocks south of Veterans Administration. We picked that one so Arlene could walk to work when the weather was nice. She was a secretary there at Veterans Administration. Her boss was Hal Wright, who later moved to Valley Center, and the kids, I'm sure, knew him. Her other boss was Garland Hatton, the brother of Don Hatton. We didn't stay there very long. We found a nice little brick fourplex on the south side of the golf course on Vernon, just west of Oliver. And we lived in that apartment until spring of 1951, when I had to go to active duty. I got that as a sophomore in high school. It was a low mileage cream puff. By the time I got rid of it during the second or third year of college, it was pretty tired. This is the house that Arlene was living in when I met her. 2007 South Delrose. Just a block west, 2 doors south of Oliver and Mount Vernon. Since I got all this equipment hooked up, I'm going to show a few pictures of our roots and where we came from, and up through our first couple of years of marriage. This is a picture of Arlene and Sylvester. Arlene always says that she is thankful that she got to start her young childhood out on a farm. They lived on a farm southeast of Cheney on the Nenaskaw River, and she attended a one-room country grade school there. This is Arlene and Sylvester out on the farm with their dog. Our grandkids probably be glad to know that she had a dog. Here she is, all dressed up. I hope she's got someplace to go. Sylvester and Arlene are ready for school. I don't know what year that car is, but it'd be nice to own now. They're a little older there. Looks like they're going to walk to school today. The story of Arlene's time on the farm out there wouldn't be complete without a picture of old Cute here. She claims the horse was so tame you just didn't need a bridle or a saddle. You just pull on its mane one way or the other to guide it. They ride this horse across the river to get the cows when they were on the wrong side of the river. Had to get this picture in to show she had curly hair. Picture of the family, probably sometime before they moved to Rose Hill. This is a picture of Arlene and her dad standing out by the house that they moved to when they bought a farm out 4 or 5 miles north of Rose Hill. Arlene went to high school at Rose Hill. Sometime after she graduated from high school, she went to work for Boeing. She'd talk about getting up at Rose Hill at 4 o'clock in the morning so she could be at Boeing typing by 6. Picture of Arlene and Sylvester by their house at Rose Hill. Looks like during the time of both of them was going to high school. The family with Sylvester just as he is leaving to go overseas, I think. Arlene doing her Bobby sock days. Her mother and Arlene at Rose Hill. Sylvester and Arlene all dressed up to go someplace. Arlene and a friend that she worked at with Boeing, at Boeing. Arlene and a friend, she and 2 other girls went on a train trip to Colorado Springs. On the way out, their train ran head on into another one. Had quite a night before they were picked up and taken on. I couldn't find Arlene's high school graduation picture, so I'm substituting this. It's not very long after high school graduation anyway. Well, as stated before, we both started out on a farm. This is a picture of me on the farm with my great-grandmother. She could tell stories about the Indians visiting her house when she was a little girl. Me and a cousin, Leonard Rickard. He grew up on a farm just about a mile from us. Had to put this in so that in spite of all my razzing, Ashley could see that I did own a dog once. There was 2 creeks on our farm. You can tell I took up fishing at a pretty early age. Had to get my horse thrown in here since Arlene got hers in. However, this isn't my horse, it's a borrowed one. This one belonged to a neighbor who was trying to tame my horse. Dad bought my first horse for me. It was delivered to our farm at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and about 11 o'clock that night, tornado came through and tore up everything on the farm. Completely destroyed the barn he was in. We found him about 1.5 miles away, still dragging a 2x4 that he was tied to. And there's where the barn was before the tornado tore it up. Old tornado just about took all that old hedgerow out there too. We never could tame that horse. I guess he thought any minute another tornado was coming by as long as he was on that farm. Picture of my parents. I don't really remember Dad when he didn't have white hair, so that shock of black hair is kind of surprising to me. Picture of me holding my sister Nancy and my sister Charlotte standing there on the ground in front of us. Family portrait there. I think I'm in the 8th grade in that picture. Freshman in high school. That's my grandpa Stauffer's 1940 Ford, which was really a great car. My grandpa and grandma Stauffer. I was really close to them. Went to Colorado. Well, with them and my folks and aunt and uncles. Everybody went to Colorado when I was 5. But I went back 2 or 3 times with Grandpa and Grandma, and then when I was in college I drove them out there for their last trip to the mountains. High school football team, junior year. I'm 30 over on the right side. Football team, sophomore year. I'm number 30, right behind 40 and 41 on the left. High school graduation picture. Looks a little torn up. College yearbook picture, senior year. WU graduation picture. Our first separation came when I had to go to San Antonio, Kelly Air Force Base for ROTC boot camp right after we got married and right after graduation. Got my 2nd lieutenant's commission on July 27th, 1950. Korean War broke out a month and a half before that or so, June 7th, I believe it was, yeah, 1950. They told us not to go home and get involved with anything because we'd be called in active duty right away. Well, they fooled around and didn't call me in until spring of '51. I took a job at Midwest Finance Company. Didn't hurt that I was going to be there a short time because I took the job of a friend who had gotten called in. I guess they had a tradition. You got put in the pool after you get your commission. Anyway, there I go in the water. Sometime around March or April, I finally got called into active duty. Had to go back to San Antonio, Lackland Air Force Base this time. Had about 30 days duty there, and then drew Stats Services School in Denver. In Denver, we rented a basement of a real nice brick house out in the east part of Denver. I had to be at school at 6 in the morning, so I got out, I think, like 1 o'clock. So we had every afternoon, if we wanted to tool around the mountains, and it was really an enjoyable summer. Nancy and Charlotte caught a ride out with Jim and Marilyn Granfield, stayed with us a week and caught the train back. Hattie and Herb dropped by for a couple, 3 days. All those trips to Colorado with my Grandpa Stauffer gave me the love for the mountains, and so it sure was a enjoyable summer to be able to get my fill of the mountains once. Anyway, I was through in the end of September in Denver, and my orders were to go to Westover Air Force Base in Massachusetts. We went to Massachusetts by way of Niagara Falls. Had a beautiful view of the falls from our motel, and when I was working on these pictures, I found a receipt for $5 for the cost of that motel. This is a picture of the finance office that I worked at the base. We were able to spend 2 falls in New England, and believe me, that is really nice duty to be able to see all those trees. 2 falls in a row, we really enjoyed it. When we first got back to Springfield, Mass, we found an apartment in Holyoke. Arlene went to work for a national book company that was located there in Holyoke. She was waiting on a freeze to be lifted so she could go to work at the base, and she had a civil service rating. We ended up having pretty good duty. She got on at the base, and we were able to go to work together and come home in the same car at night together. Kind of put me down a little bit. I was working for a captain at the finance office, and she was secretary for 2 full colonels at Atlantic Division Match Headquarters. When we arrived back there at Westover, a very good friend of mine from college had already been stationed there by the name of George Welch. The kids will remember that we went to their house in Colorado Springs and Denver many times when we were on a vacation in Colorado. He met a whack there on the base, and they got married about a week before Christmas or after Christmas. And Arlene and I stood up with them at their wedding. There was a wedding in a little small chapel there on the base. Arlene and George's wife, Thelma, She palled around with us after George was shipped to Japan. We lived in 2 other places out in the country, out by a little town called South Hadley Center. About the only thing was in South Hadley Center was about a 5,000 student girls college. And it was really pretty out that way. I didn't see a picture of either place, but we've got them somewhere. But this is a picture of a 4-car garage that was behind a apartment building that we lived in last. Landlord was about 80-year-old French Canadian. One winter when the snow was about 3 foot deep, I helped him change those 4 garage doors from old-fashioned gate kind to these 4 overhead ones. I'd bought a 50 Plymouth, real nice car, that we had to go to Denver and Massachusetts. I had a chance to sell it for more than I paid for it, so I sold it and we bought a new 53 Chevrolet just before we got out to come home. I remember, I think it cost $1,850. On the way home, we went by way of Washington and saw all the sights there. We didn't know it at that time, but Arlene was pregnant with Neil. And all the way home she complained that the new car smell was really making her sick. I don't think she ever wanted another brand new car since. We hadn't been home since we left to go to Denver. And Arlene's only contact with her folks was by letter. Boy, was she glad to see this house when we got back in Wichita in March of 1953. And as I've said before, we certainly had a beautiful life together for these 60 years. And I hope we have many more. And I thank you all for coming. Take that first. That's his title shot. And then we'll stand over here.
Yay.
So who are we waiting on first?
looking for her relative.
Yeah, my daughter's. I have twins. They're freshmen. One is majoring in chemistry.
Okay.
So she's thinking about pharmacy.
Aaron, go tell him.
You yell at him? You seen any movies lately?
So I had a car, but other than that.
Where we push this and hold it?
Yeah, no, you don't have to hold it. You don't have to hold it.
And this guy in front of us.
Where does it show me?
Right there. See it there? Oh, that's that little.
Oh, okay, it's red.
Yeah, the garage?
They're like, it was something stupid ridiculous. Like
Looks like the first one.
no, yeah. Because they had like he had just returned something that had been like 2 weeks over. And then we had 5 or 6 different things.
Bottom of the steps in the garage.
Because it used to be you could return it like within the month, and they wouldn't charge you.
See, me and her sister, we had that.
You got the Netflix.
Yeah.
Can't find no
I'm
other.
thinking about doing that.
I'm gonna hit this one.
They said there's no reason to try to delay surgery. Then I had a friend of mine. You acid stroke. These dropping out with physical therapy has to be. He just learned how to use it.
Oh, he just learned how to use it. I'm going to show you something.
Smile, Vernon.
Going from 20 years to being
Sitting here with both cheeks full like a chipmunk.
Yeah, it's all right.
What was the main artery? We're thinking about this whole activity with steroids. Steroids have been the worst thing about this whole thing.
Oh, I'm gonna say.
Couldn't catch anybody.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's what my son, like, he'll do something, come by and slap me, and he goes, oh, that's really
It hit so hard.
that's how.
Do anything, I had to call in right then. Or I just had to sell it.
Walking in the house, he just came and jumped on my back.
Grandpa and
Grandma was happy when the war ended.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I know you. And I know Charlotte, but I haven't seen
Whoops.
This is my youngest.
your youngest.
My youngest. I usually mixed up, but that's okay.
Sherry, you know, that's okay.
They answer each other. Like all the time.
Yeah.